Good morning, scholars, and welcome to Lesson 9 of Animals and Habitats. Our learning goal for today says, I can identify the reasons the author of Habitat Destruction and Endangered Species gives for the classification of bald eagles as an endangered species. So we've been learning a lot about animal adaptations. We've seen a lot of different animals, and we've learned how they've adapted. What it means to be adapted is that they look and behave and how they look and what their way of life is like. All these things help to make them suited to survive in their habitats. And the next read aloud is about what happens to living things when their habitats change. What do you think would happen to an animal or plant if its surroundings changed? Imagine, for example, what would happen if it got hot in the Arctic and all the snow and ice melted. Would the muskox's heavy fur coat help it in the hot weather? No, it would probably make it overheated. What about the Arctic fox or the Arctic hare? Would their white coat still help it to blend in if all of the snow and ice melted in the Arctic? Right, there wouldn't be anything for them to blend into. It would be green and brown. What about the walrus and seals? The walrus and the seals, would they have use for all that blubber if it got hot? No, they wouldn't. Blubber, heavy fur, and camouflage are all ways that Arctic animals have adapted to the cold weather. Could any of these adaptations make it hard to live in the new hot weather? Why do you think? Listen carefully today to find out how habitat changes have affected the bald eagles. Rattenborough here, delivering the final installment of our exciting habitats adventures. We have traveled all around the world, looking at some of the different habitats where plants and animals live. A lot of those habitats, such as the Arctic and the Sonoran Desert, have climates which you and I would have a tough time adapting. Remember, climate means the kind of weather a place normally has. How would you have a tough time adapting to the Arctic? How about to the desert? As we've seen, however, there are different living things in each habitat we have visited. Because some living things are so well adapted to specific conditions of their specific habitat, any large change in their surroundings could make it hard for them to survive. Just think what would happen if I got even a little if it got even a little colder in the desert. Some of the animals who are so good at keeping cool wouldn't know how to stay warm. Or what if it stopped raining in the rainforest? What would happen to all those plants that need lots of water? Or what if something happened to disrupt the food chain of a certain animal? If that animal relied on a certain type of plant or animal to eat, and that food source was taken out of the habitat, that animal would no longer have food it needed to survive. Some habitats change because of the temperature or the weather changes, but unfortunately, people often affect habitats as well. Whether they realize it or not, people can make it very difficult for plants and animals to survive. From cutting down trees or starting forest fires to dumping dangerous waste and chemicals into our rivers, people's actions can endanger lots of species of plants and animals. To endanger plants and animals means to put them in danger's way. So people's actions can harm or even kill lots of plants and animals. Sometimes people's actions destroy entire habitats. To destroy something means to ruin it or break it. For example, someone walking in a forest might light a match and drop it. And then the whole forest might burn. Here, the word match means a piece of wood with a special tip that produces a fire. The word match can also refer to a contest between two or more players or teams. Even if they were not harmed by the fire itself, many animals that used to live in the trees would no longer have a place to live. When they lose their home, animals find it much harder to continue to live in a particular habitat. If they can't find a new place to live, the animals will not survive. After a while, there will be fewer and fewer of these kinds of animals alive in the wild. When that happens, we say that they have become endangered species. A species is a group of living things that are all similar. So, an endangered species is a group of living things that could die out completely. We say these species are endangered for a very good reason. They are in danger of extinction. Extinction means dying out forever, like the dinosaurs. An animal or plant that is extinct has died out and does not exist anywhere in the world anymore. I'm on a mission to tell you about one animal that can teach us a lot about endangered species and how to save them. I've come here to Washington State, in the northwest part of the United States, to show you an amazing bird called the bald eagle. So right here is our globe. And if you look over here, Washington State is right here on the Pacific Ocean. So it's right here. So let me get a picture of that right here. Here's North America, and Washington State is over here in this area. Look up at that tree there, and you will see one of these eagles perched on the very top branch. You may recognize the bald eagle because it's one of our national symbols of our country. Drawings of the eagle appear as symbols on the American money and many other places. Believe it or not, the bald eagle was almost extinct in the United States several years ago. If that had happened, there would be no bald eagles still living. So we're grateful to be able to spot this bald eagle today. Bald eagles are scavengers, but they also eat rats and other small animals, so I better stay out of the way. What's a scavenger? I think the bald eagle looks very grand, don't you? It's covered with dark brown feathers and its head and tail are both white. Bald eagles are some of the largest birds living in this country. They can grow up to 3 feet tall, which is almost as tall as a first grader. Wow, this one has just taken off into the air, and you can see that it has huge wings. In fact, their wings can spread about 8 feet in length. While this eagle is flying around, let me tell you more about these special birds. There used to be thousands of bald eagles in the United States, but farmers started to hunt them because they thought the eagles were killing their farm animals. Then later people started to cut down trees in which the eagles built their nests to make way for roads and houses and shopping malls. Do you think it caused problems when people cut down trees that the eagles used to build their nest in? Why or why not? With fewer places for them to make their homes, eagles found it harder and harder to survive, and they started to die out. Soon, there weren't many bald eagles left in the whole United States. People started to notice that there were fewer and fewer bald eagles, and they decided to find out why. Why do you think the eagles were dying out? Scientists began to study eagles, and they discovered 2 things. When scientists discover things, they learn new information. The first was that a lot of eagles didn't have enough room to build their nests. Eagles do not like to live in the same area as other eagles, so they build their nests far away from each other. They like places that are very peaceful, and they need huge, strong trees that can hold nests big enough for the adult and their babies to live. The scientists discovered that eagles didn't have enough room in areas where they have been living because people were chopping down trees in order to build more roads and buildings. People were destroying the bald eagle's habitats. The other thing that scientists found out was that something bad was getting into the bald eagle's food supply. Farmers sometimes used a chemical to keep bugs from eating their crops. One chemical, though, made the eggs that the eagles laid much thinner and easier to break. Because of this, many bald eagle eggs were breaking before they could hatch. No one knew before then that the chemical was hurting the eagles, but it was. Luckily, the scientists found out which chemical was harming eagles' eggs. Using the scientists' information, the United States government made laws to protect the bald eagle and its habitat so the eagle's food no longer contained the harmful chemical. Thanks to these new laws, more eagles were born, and the number of eagles started to rise again. What two things were hurting the bald eagles? Yes, the chemicals and the cutting of the trees. Good job. Now, bald eagles have made an amazing comeback, but people must always be careful to protect their habitats. This bald eagle has returned to its nest up in the tree. Maybe it has some chicks up there that it needs to feed, or maybe it's just trying to keep warm. It's pretty chilly. And speaking of returning to the nest, I'm afraid it's time for me to go home now. I've really enjoyed our trip around the world's habitats, and I hope you have too. Mrs. Rattenbarrow and my kids miss me. To tell you the truth, it's been a dangerous expedition for me. I'll be glad to get out of danger and into the safety of my lovely home under the steps. Home sweet home, or maybe should I say, habitat, sweet habitat. So what is an endangered species? I hope you said it was a species that could die out because there were so few still living. What is extinction? Right, when an animal or habitat dies out completely. Why do changes in an animal's habitat make it hard for it to survive? Exactly, animals aren't already so well adapted to the habitat they live in. Try again. Animals are already so well adapted to the habitat they live in. They can't adapt or make changes to the new conditions of their habitat. What can cause a habitat to change? A lot of things. Changes in the temperature, changes in the weather, people's actions, all those things. How do people affect habitats? They can hurt them by building cities and roads, cutting down trees. They can protect them by making careful laws about where to build and by avoiding chemicals that harm animals like bald eagles. The author of the Read Aloud said that bald eagles were becoming an endangered species. What reason did the author give for the statement that eagles were becoming endangered? Yes, they didn't have enough space to build their nests, and the chemicals in their food supplies was making their eggs very breakable. I want you to pause the video now and go tell somebody why you think it's important to protect animal habitats. Did you tell somebody why you think it's important to protect animal habitats? Good job. In today's Read Aloud, you heard sometimes people's actions destroy entire habitats. Say the word destroy. To destroy something means to ruin, break, or end it. If I built a big tower of blocks, I could destroy it by knocking it over. What are some ways that you can help not destroy the habitat? I bet you came up with a lot of great ideas. Why don't you go ahead and send me a Class Dojo message telling me how you can not destroy habitats? I'm going to give you several different examples of people doing things. If the action describes someone destroying something, say that would destroy something. If it does not, just say that's not going to destroy something. Tearing up your homework. I'm sure you said that would destroy my homework. Coloring in a coloring book. Yeah, I know you knew that's not going to destroy anything. Shaking hands with a new friend. That's not going to destroy anything. Throwing a glass on the floor. I know you said that would destroy the glass. Throwing a sandwich into a puddle. Yeah, that would destroy the sandwich. So in the read aloud, we learned how people's actions have an effect on animals' habitats. Today, I want you to take a piece of paper. See, I have this image right here. I want you to make one big circle right here and several smaller circles like this on your paper. Go ahead and pause the video, get you a piece of paper and a pencil. Do you have a paper and a pencil now? Right here, I'm going to write the word eagles. Eagles. You should put eagles in the big circle in the middle of your paper. What are some sort of things that eagles might need to survive? So eagles like to build nests for their young ones. I hope you said that. So I'm going to put nests right here in this box. Now what I'd like you to do is think about different things that eagles might need to survive. You don't have to write words, you can draw pictures. And then I'd like you to go ahead and take a picture of your paper that you made. And I want you to send it to me today. Before we finish up here, all right, go ahead and put the word nest here. And then you're going to take and make a line to connect this dot, this circle to that circle. You'll connect every circle you've been with a nice little line, and we'll have a word map here that shows that the different things that eagles need. When you're done with this, I would like you to take a picture and load it up on Class Dojo for me. Ask a mom or a dad or somebody in the room with you to help you put this on Class Dojo. Today's learning goal is I can identify the reasons the author of Habitat Destruction and Endangered Species gives for the classification of bald eagles as an endangered species. So that's all for Lesson 9. Tomorrow we're going to go ahead and start fairy tales. That should be very exciting. All right, hope everybody's staying well, and I'll see you soon.